because I had a mom that came out and said, I have never felt so degraded. I don't understand why I had to do that.
It feels coercive and controlling, like they don't want women to carry the pills out with them in case they're having second
Right.
thoughts or they want to go home and sleep on it before they make the
Yeah.
decision. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marcy, as you know, we talk about a serious subject, but we kind of like to have fun sometimes. And if you know,
Hmm.
if there's a chance to smile or make fun of you, that's something that we always try to take advantage of.
That is always something you try to take
Right.
advantage of
Right.
for sure.
But today, it's a pretty serious topic, so we just want to be careful. We're going to get into some very blunt conversation and language and description. So it might not be for the younger folks, just a sort of a heads up. But it's really, really important and really kind of interesting what they're doing down in the New Mexico and Texas area.
Yes, Jessica Sifuentes is the CEO of Southwest Coalition. They just have an amazing ministry down there for women before, during, after their abortions. You're going to hear about a really creative way that they are ministering to women who have begun and maybe completed a chemical abortion, taking the abortion pill. So we're excited for you to hear about this. But like Scott said, maybe not for the younger listeners. So we'll leave that to parents to decide. But we will jump right into today's conversation. Jessica, thanks so much for joining us on Dear Jane.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
I know that you are on the front lines. Your ministry is so multifaceted, and you work with women all throughout their different phases of pregnancy decisions. And despite our best efforts and desire for women, sometimes they still go through with an abortion. So, you all have developed what you call care kits to help her
Mhm.
after you say that women have been abandoned by the abortion industry. Can you tell us a little bit about what the care kits are?
Sure. Well, and the name in itself, CARE, is stands for Chemical Abortion Recovery and Evaluation. And what we want is to be able to connect with the women when they're at their absolute most difficult moment in their lives. And many times they're making very rash decisions and they're not seeing the entire, process of what an abortion would look like in that moment. So our goal is to be able to connect with them right before they go into the abortion clinic or after, and give them the opportunity to explain a little bit about what is the information that is missing from when they go in for their appointment at the abortion clinic. So many times from their own mouths, they've shared with us that if they go in, they get their ultrasound, they have their pregnancy test, and then they're given the medication. They're told that they're going to have slight cramping and some, bleeding like you do in a period. And then they're going to take these pills and then, take some Tylenol for the pain. And pretty much that's the extent of the medical advice that they're given. When in reality, we know that that is the farthest thing from the truth. It is not mild cramping. It is not bleeding like a regular menstrual cycle. It is going into labor. They do have pains like contraction pains, and many times these women are alone. So when they're going through this, they were not expecting it. And what we've realized is that if you give them enough information, and our goal is always to give them the information in the hopes that they would choose life, that they would give themselves that opportunity. But what we've seen is that many of them have come in absolutely determined and they are going to go through with that abortion. So they're afraid to even ask us questions because they feel that we've already judged them and condemned them. And that's why this care kit has given us an opportunity to really open the doors for the conversation. And when we explain how the care kit works, typically they engage with asking questions. And then they're able to put their wall down a little bit and trust us enough to say, if you're talking to me about an abortion, then that means that somehow you're really there for me. Not that we are supporting their decision, but we're supporting their health. And yeah, that's what the care kits really have done is it's created an opportunity for us to engage in real conversation with them.
So, what's all included in the kit?
So what we have is It's a transparent bag that we hold outside as we're driving up to the abortion clinic if the setting is there. We also use these in-house in our clinic. But for those situations where we're outside, there's what we call the nun's hat. And that's that pan that you put inside of the toilet that has the measurements on the, on the side of the pan that measures how much urine so that you can track. In this case, we're using that to track how much blood loss she has. And then we have a little colander sieve that she's able to then take the contents of when she passes the baby will fall into the pan, the most important piece, because now it's not falling into the toilet. So now she's able to catch the remains of the baby in the catch pan or the nun's hat, and then she can take that and put that into the colander, and then gently rinse off, the blood clots. And now she's able to see the actual size of the baby. The booklet will show her what she's to look for and how to be able to distinguish between a blood clot and the actual remains of the baby. And then there is a little the cups, the gosh, my word is specimen cup. So there's a specimen cup. Now she can take the remains of the baby, put it in the specimen cup, fill it with water. There's a little saline packet that she opens and puts it inside to preserve the baby. And then we have a little white cloth that she can stick the specimen cup in, and it's got so she's able to seal it. And this way she doesn't have to see it. But the beauty behind this care kit is that it's giving her an opportunity to really process her emotions as far as what does she want to do with the remains. This really did come I think that the reason that we developed is because of so many conversations with women that now, because the chemical abortion is so readily available to them, they themselves have now become the abortionist. It's very, very different from a surgical abortion. So, in the surgical abortion, she goes in, the doctor does the abortion, she leaves. She really didn't play a whole, she didn't play a part in the removal of the baby. In chemical abortion, it's very different. Now she has taken the pill, she has past the baby at home. She's looking at the baby inside of the toilet and she needs to flush. So, stories like a woman who told us that she was sticking her hands into the toilet trying to grab the baby. She's bleeding heavily. She's on the floor. The baby keeps sliding through her hands. She's crying. She's by herself. This absolute devastation of what a woman should never, ever have to go through. So then we thought if she has the ability to put the baby in a jar, the healing and the closing, that realization of what she's done is so important for that healing process for mothers. And it allows them the reality of, accepting what they've done and accepting if this was the best decision for her. Many times, this is where they realize this was a huge mistake. I should have never done it. And now she has the opportunity to take those remains. And because of what we've added in the booklet, as well as information on how she can have a burial service. We were very fortunate to have a burial service back in 2025 where we offered this not to moms who had the abortion, but these were moms who had miscarried. So the loss of a child is the loss of a child. And we get moms that also come to our Guiding Star Birth and Wellness Center, and they are going through a miscarriage. And they also don't want to have to flush their babies down the toilet if they happen to pass the baby at home. So what we've done is created this opportunity for them to have burial services. And we buried 122 baby remains for moms who had gone through miscarriages and said, is there any way that I want a place where I can grieve my child? And when we were able to offer that to 122 moms, my goodness, if you had seen the room, these were moms that had had their babies. Stored for over a year, some of them for over 10 years. And they were able to then, have this burial service. And we realized that if we give that same opportunity to moms who have an abortion, many times they are able to connect with that child and think to themselves, I never want to do this again. I would never, ever want to subject myself to this pain. And I do realize that it is a child. And I know that now I can go and grieve my child at the cemetery because my child is there. And we're hoping that that would allow her to, see abortion from a different perspective and say, I could never do that again. So if we were not successful in convincing her that this was a mistake, then the second pregnancy that she may find herself in, an unexpected pregnancy, it may be much more difficult for her to make the decision to have an abortion.
It seems like a way to not only dignify the life that was lost, the baby, because
Mm,
that's, I think that's painful for a lot of women because they've believed it's just a clump of cells or a blob of
mhm,
tissue, and then they pass the baby in the abortion and realize, okay, that was a lie. But it also seems like a way to acknowledge, for her to be able to pause in the midst of her physical pain and now emotional pain, to
mm,
acknowledge the lies that she believed, and now she's confronted with the truth, but almost gives her a way to process that, or like a, I hate to use the word productive, but maybe like a productive or a healing way to move forward versus being confronted with the reality of what she's done and not having the components of the care kit available
mhm.
to her. And now she has to just sit with that. It seems like the care kit maybe is an invitation for her to be able to process and, like you said, reach out to your ministry and your organization for healing after the fact. Has that been the case? Do you see women following up after the abortions?
We do. I mean, obviously not as much as we would like to, but I do believe that because there's so many people that are not aware of it. I do believe that this is more than just, there's so many benefits from the care kit. And the bridge that we're able to connect with her, even if she's not ready to cross that bridge when we are,
Mhm.
at that moment, it's there. And she knows that there was somebody there. They gave her tools. They were honest with her. They showed her images of what to expect. And that organization really wanted to help her. When she's ready, she reaches out and it doesn't feel like she's being she's being judged or condemned. This is that same organization that was there for me at my worst moment, and maybe it's a year later, and that's what we've seen. 6 months, 8 months, a year and a half later, they come back and they say, I met you guys on the sidewalk. And this is obviously prior to the care kits, because we're barely going on 1 year since we started using the care kits.
Mhm.
But since we started, we are seeing moms that have come to us 8 months later, and they're asking questions. And now I'm ready for that recovery that I need to go through, because I don't know what else to do. And a lot of the conversations that, a lot of the information that you gave me, I'm realizing now, 8 months later, that I'm grieving through that. You're right. It is true. And I'm ready to I'm ready to talk to somebody. So if we are able to give them that kit, then we build this relationship with them. And they know that whenever they're ready, they're able to walk across that bridge, and we're going to be there for them. So the abortion recovery is so important for them as well, because it does allow them that healing that they need to go through, and that forgiveness. Because what happens is when they don't have that, they find themselves having a second and third and fourth abortion, because they have really never come to terms with the reality of what they did. And that care kit, I do believe, is that tool that allows them to see that. So I think it's just that, all around, there's so many benefits from the care kit.
How receptive are the women when you offer them this kit? Because, and this is the context that I mean, since we've talked about all the lies they hear, right?
Mhm.
I would think most of these women be like, "What do I need this for? It's just a clump of cells, and it's going to be what? Why would I need all of this stuff?" Do you run into that?
We do. And this is why we want to go ahead and go into two different avenues of that conversation. So if you have a woman who comes in and she's like, it is a clump of cells, I don't have any emotional attachment to it, why would I need this? Well, if you go ahead and look at the booklet, we've marked what you need to be looking out for, as far as if you've passed the baby, because you could have had a lot of bleeding, you had blood clots, but you haven't seen what you should be looking for the gestational stage that you're at. Also, I mentioned the measurement lines inside of the nun's hat, and that tells you how much blood loss you've had, and you're tracking it. So at the back of the book, we have a chart that says, how many mLs of blood in how long. So you take the time and you say, okay, I had 200, or I had 50. If you are soaking a pad more than 2 pads per hour, I need to make sure that I get medical attention. So we are also looking out for the health of the mom, and making sure that she doesn't put herself in a situation, which we've seen. We've seen women that have lost so much blood, they've passed out. When they come to, they don't know how many, hours have passed. They have no idea, because they're alone. A lot of these women are going through this in secret. So this is more than just the realization of like this is a baby and the truth of it. Then there's also the science. And that usually if it doesn't get you on, the heart of it, then in her concern for her own health, then she'll ask more medical questions. And we're very fortunate that because we are a medical facility, then we do have a nurse on site outside of the clinic, and then in the office, in the medical office, in our brick and mortar, we have a certified nurse midwife who is able to answer the questions and give her medical information. So
That's great. My understanding is that you all are not just passing these kits out without having a conversation first. Can you talk us through or walk us through what that conversation looks like? And also, you mentioned the booklet. What kind of information does that have in it?
So the acknowledgement form that we added to the booklet. So the booklet is a 4-page information guide, and it's how to use it. It's got pictures that demonstrate exactly what she's looking for, how to use it. It's got gloves, pad, and then the the booklet on the back has the chart and it tells you exactly how you're to measure your blood. If you've lost so much blood, you want to make sure that you either let somebody know that they can take you to the hospital or dial 911. So that medical information. But it also has an acknowledgement form. And that's the piece that is really important to us because it kind of sets the tone for how that conversation is going to take place. So if they do ask us outside, and we're going to go ahead and go to two. So one, we're outside of the abortion facility. If we're on the sidewalk and we're talking to her right before she goes into the abortion clinic, at that point, we're trying to give her information. For the most part, they're in a hurry to get in there. They don't want to talk to us, so they go in. Or they say, you know what, I'll get a kit. Can I get one? You know what? We'll wait for you when you come out. We don't want to give her the kit without having that conversation. So typically, when she's walked out of the abortion clinic, we know that she has taken the abortion pill. And she has already swallowed it because they tell us they're not allowed to pay for the pill and not swallow it. They actually have to pull their fingers in their mouth and lift their tongue and show the nurses that they've actually swallowed the first set of pills.
Wow.
So when they walk out, we know the abortion has already started. So immediately, what we want to make sure that we inform her of is yes, we can give you this kit. However, let's go over the acknowledgement form first because it's a protocol that we've set in place, which means I am going to speak to you about APR. So abortion pill reversal is extremely important. I want you to know that your abortion has already started. The process of cutting off nutrients and oxygen to your baby has already begun, and you have up to 72 hours um, to to reverse that if you are interested. So here's information on the abortion pill reversal. We offer it. You can also call this 800 number. So that information is given. If you are in a situation where you are forced to have this abortion because you are looking at possibly, excuse me, being homeless, we want you to know that we do have resources. We also have a maternity home that we could connect you to and see if you qualify. We have really worked hard on bringing in all the resources that we're able to offer her, not only in our local area, but outside. So we've reached out to other cities in Dallas and Corpus Christi and Austin, and we get their information. So if they tell us, the majority of them that have come in from Texas are from outside of El Paso. So we do our research and we say, let's connect you to these resources. And if they're not interested, we go down the list of the things that we want to do for them in the hopes that they would choose to reverse the abortion pill. If they haven't gone through it, then of course we're going to give her more. Our goal is to make sure that she understands that she does not have to make this decision. If it's a financial, then we try to give her resources for financial. If it's because of residence, we try to make sure that we're able to plug her into a place where she can stay, including the one that we run, which is the Lily Pad Maternity Home. And then again, if it's depending on the conversation. So once she says, I acknowledge that you have spoken to me about APR, about residency programs, about financial resources and about all the other resources. And I am making this decision knowing that there are all these other options, and I still want to go ahead and go through with the decision. Then I sign that, yes, you can sign your initials, that yes, you have given me all of these other alternatives and resources, and I'm still going to go through with the abortion. And the reason that we developed that was because we never ever wanted to make our interns that are out on the sidewalk feel like they were a part of the abortion and that we were facilitating her. We wanted to make sure that before God, that we would say, Lord, We talked to her about APR. We did all of these things. We understand that she has free will as well. And if she's going to act on that free will and disregard everything that we've already, given her all these other options, then we're going to try our hardest to at least give her the opportunity to give dignity to her child and make sure that she does not put her own life in danger.
All right, I'm stuck, and maybe you two can help me here because I'm going back to the whole open up your mouth to show you took the pill thing. I mean, that harkens back to when you're a little kid and you really, really do not want to take that pill, and your mom checks to make sure. What is that all about? Other than just an eagerness for the abortion to happen, I don't get that at all. Help. What is that about?
Scott, I wish I could tell you that it has everything to do with the fact that they want to make sure that she does not go and give those pills to somebody else, maybe a child. But in the state of New Mexico, that is not true because a child could go up and does not need parental consent. And there's no reason why you would not be able to give that medication to somebody else. But their reasoning behind it is you're the one that signed the contract, you're the one that's buying the pills. We need to make sure that you are swallowing them because the second set of pills you get to take home.
All right, so they're going to claim it's a safety issue to make sure that the pill doesn't get out there. I mean, okay. I mean, I guess I'm just still visualizing that, and man, that just is
I'm
really
glad you touched on that because I had a mom that came out and said, I have never felt so degraded. I don't understand why I had to do that.
It feels coercive and controlling, like they don't want women to carry the pills out with them in case they're having second
right.
thoughts or they want to go home and sleep on it before they make the
Yeah.
decision.
Mhm,
Oh, yeah.
mhm.
You know what strikes me is how powerful. So you talk through the process and you talk through the kits and what the kits collect. How powerful the stories of these women who go through that could really be for other women. Because again, women are bombarded with lies. We know this.
Mhm.
But to hear it straight from another woman, here's what the reality is. Boy, I would think that's extremely powerful.
That is the piece that's missing. This is what we need to see on social media. We need women to be able to talk about it. We have women who talk about, like, oh, I've had so many abortions and I'm so proud of my
Right.
abortion. But the women who have suffered deeply because of the decision that they've made, they live in darkness, they live in shame. And I do believe that when we were developing the care kits and how we're going to, what information we want to add into the booklet, I remember having this conversation with Mark, our former CEO, and and sharing with him, there has to be a space where, like, ideally, if you tell me what is the one piece that's missing from the care kits? If you open up a box, because our care kits are either in the transparent bag or in a box, and you open up the box, there's a QR code that you can scan. And before you take your second set of pills, and those are the ones that are going to put you into labor, you hear the story of a woman who has something to say. This is a woman who probably shared the same box because I would love for the boxes to be recycled. I'm not going to lie. Inside, you keep all the stuff, and it's all in the clear bag, but that bag gets put in a box, and that box tells the story. And so you scan the QR code and you hear this woman share her story, and she says, "Hi, my name is," and maybe she doesn't, maybe her face is blurred out, but she shares her story. And the woman who's about to take that second set of pills really has an opportunity to talk to somebody who's already gone through it and shares her story. And whether the story is, I took the pill and I had the abortion, or I took the pill and I did APR, or I took it and I went through with it and this is my second time, but I regret it or I don't regret it. Whatever her story is, that the mom who's on that end who's about to take the pill should have an opportunity to be able to hear that, because I do believe that that is how we connect, is through storytelling
Mhm.
Yeah.
and being able to either feel empowered and say, you know what, I heard her story, it's atrocious, I don't want that to be me. I can't do this. Or she's inspired me to go ahead and call and get the APR, which is what we're hoping, you know? Or here she went through with it and she regrets it horribly. Again, I don't want that to be me.
Yeah. Yeah. This is now probably the third or fourth time I've heard the care kit explained, and so I feel like I have a good understanding of it. But I'll be honest, the first time I heard about it, I was like, "Oh, I don't know how I feel about this."
Can I ask, where did you hear
This
about it for the first time?
I heard you explain it. I was watching a video where you were explaining it, and you did a great job. I think there was just, I had this reaction where I was like, I get what they're doing, but it still makes me feel uncomfortable a little
Hmm.
bit. Like they're, and it feels too strong to say like having a part in the abortion. But I'm curious if other people have had a similar reaction, or if you've had to have conversations with any of your supporters who maybe have similar concerns about their care kit.
I think on when we first mentioned it to a few, there were a lot of questions. There were those that jumped on board immediately and said, I see it, I get it. And then there were those that had a lot more questions, which are really good because of those questions, we developed the acknowledgement form. And it was internal. So our own interns were like, I don't want to be a part of what, their decision. And it feels like we're saying, oh, you're going to go through with it. Here you go. But the reality is, when she has walked out of the abortion clinic, she has already begun the abortion process. And she will go home. And if we don't give her the kit, she will flush that baby down the toilet. That is it. That is the truth. So, what is the best thing that we can do for her in that moment? And that would be, we want to connect. We want you to trust us. We want you to not flush your baby down the toilet. Because I will share that this came in a dream. And I shared that. I don't know if I shared that or not, but, and it was, I felt so convicted that God's children made in his image and likeness were being discarded as fecal matter, and they were ending up in the sewers. And that's that's their burial place, is in, and there's rats down there. And I don't know if I saw a documentary or I imagined it, but I remember there the image of a rat eating like the remains of a child. And what could we possibly do to prevent that from happening? So we did reach out to our local priest. We talked to a very orthodox priest. We got the the bioethics committee, and we asked questions. And it was, we did a lot of, you know we had a lot of conversations to make sure that this was not something that we were condoning an abortion. But the reality is that, because of, even if we never spoke to them about APR or about the opportunity for them to find housing out, they didn't need to go through the abortion. If they were looking at homelessness, that we would be able to help them. Even if we didn't do any of those things, and all we ever said was, here you go, please don't flush your child down the toilet, use this kit, then that takes the place of the corporal works of mercy. And that in itself was enough for me to feel like, I really do feel that this was an inspiration from God, because so many things came from it. And when we explained that to some of our donors, they immediately, after the explanation, were like, we get it. We get it. Because the truth is, on the flip side of that, if you don't give them the care kit, you watched her walk in, you gave her a brochure, you talked to her, did all the traditional outreach that we used to do prior to the care kit, and she's still going to go in, she's still going to have the abortion, she's going to walk out and say, no, thank you, I don't want a brochure, or here, thank you, I have the brochure, but still go home and flush the baby down the toilet. So, but I do, I get it.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Well, and to today hearing, at least where you are, that women are forced to actually swallow that first pill before they walk out, that it
Hmm.
just, that it makes a lot more sense to me. And I think it's, the more I've had time to sit with it, the more I think it's really creative. And I do love how dignifying it is for that baby that lost its life. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's great. Are any other groups using this? Is it like gaining traction in other parts of the country? Are you trying to get it to gain traction? Kind of what are next steps in terms of other people using it?
What we've done is, with Nellie, we created the video. I want to upload it to our Her Care Connection website, and I would like to get it out there. There is another organization that has also started promoting it. So I think that there are I've had phone calls from, parts Chicago and New York, and I think a couple of people in Texas that have reached out and said, how can we get these kits in house, and what do we need to do? And then is there a training? So there is we definitely are working on putting more information out there. The local pregnancy centers here, we've got Pregnancy and Fatherhood Solutions. They have started using them, and I do know that the same thing is happening. More conversations are happening with these moms, and I think that that's probably a really good place to start if we want to make one mom at a time, to make abortion unthinkable for her for the second time. I think that's a really great place to start.
Yeah, I love it. Jessica is the CEO of Southwest Coalition for Life. You can find out more about their ministries at southwest.life and Southwest Coalition for Life on all of their social media platforms. Jessica, thanks so much for joining us today to talk about C.A.R.E. kits.
On the contrary, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.